Hi, I'm Helen, and I make videos on the topics of sort of anti-racism, intersectional feminism and politics. And in this video, I'm going to give you a really quick rundown of the 4 waves of feminism. I could go into great detail, but I'm going to give you sort of really quick facts and an overview so you know and understand what the 4 waves of feminism are. So the first wave started, a lot of people say mid-1800s. However, Mary Wollstonecraft published her novel, The Vindication of the Rights of Women, in 1792. So that's arguably where kind of feminism and women's rights movement started. That continued up to about 1918, when in the UK some women were given the rights to vote, and in 1920 when some women in the US were given the right to vote. The first wave featured the suffragettes, and while these women were absolutely abolitionists, they literally were sort of imprisoned, went on hunger strike, and even died for their cause, for the rights of women and for the right to vote. It's important to remember that it was a very white wave, in that the campaign mainly focused on the rights of white women to vote. That was the focus at the time. The second wave came a little bit later, and that was arguably only about 2 decades long. So this was started in the 60s and went right through to the 80s. This came along with sort of contraception and birth control being readily available, the sexual revolution, and really looked at women's roles in society and what role they played and whether they wanted to go out to work or be childbearers. The women's liberation was, again, like the first wave, quite sort of white women and middle class dominated. However, towards the end of the 80s, this saw the rise of the intersectional feminism, striving for a more inclusive liberation. The third wave of feminism came in the 90s, and this was the girl power movement. Think of the Spice Girls, Madonna, the Riot Girls. They were kind of rejecting the fact that beauty and intelligence were exclusive, and took both of them on board, and they wore their high heels and their bras. They weren't rejecting them like they were in the sort of 80s. The third wave also featured the scholar Judith Butler, who started the conversation about that gender and sex are separate and gender can also be performative. Now, the fourth wave is where we arguably are now. Some people still say we're in the third wave, but the fourth wave is all tied up in social media. Campaigns such as #MeToo and Time's Up, which were driven on social media and sharing these hashtags and sharing these posts. The fourth wave essentially started around 2012, and it featured feminism going more mainstream. I think about Beyonce and her performance at the VMAs in 2014. The focus of the fourth wave is mainly sort of sexual harassment, body shaming, and tackling rape culture. Thanks so much for watching this video. Those are the 4 waves of feminism in a really quick nutshell.